Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 80 Literary and Jury Charge. We're going to pick up where we left off with the article, The Comeback Kid. Okay, here we go. Ready? It is 8:30 a.m., a week before graduation, and John, still half asleep, swings his legs out of bed. On his arms are the supportive splints he wears even when he sleeps. I toss and turn a lot, he explains. I feel better with my arms protected. Preparing breakfast in the kitchen, his mother, Karen, hears John moving and is already halfway down the hall when he calls out. It's a reality John prefers not to dwell on, but he is absolutely dependent on his mother's care. Using the strength in his shoulders, John can lift both arms over his head. He has no useful elbow movement, however, and no hand or wrist control. Dr. Van Beek is hopeful that John will regain feeling in his hands within 2 years, but it may well take 5 years and several more operations, as well as intensive therapy, before anyone can know the extent to which John will be able to move and control his hands. One of Van Beek's main goals now is to increase John's elbow movement, but that too will require surgery and long hours of therapy. In the bathroom next to John's room, Karen attaches a strap just above the wrist of his left splint. Then she slides in a hook that John uses to pull his boxer shorts up and down. A few minutes later, John calls, "Mom," again, and within seconds, Karen is undoing the hook and replacing it with a second contraption that holds John's toothbrush. She squeezes on a dab of toothpaste and closes the door behind her. He doesn't like people to watch, says Karen. I guess I don't blame him. Privacy these days is a rarity for John. He has become something of a public figure. At a welcome home potluck dinner held in early March, days after he returned from the hospital, the tired, weak teenager took time to chat with nearly each of the 300 friends and neighbors who packed the Herdsfield Community Center. "I'm doing great," he repeated between mouthfuls of baked beans and Jell-O. He has met scores of celebrities who have visited him in the hospital and even had offers to audition as a singer, which is his lifelong dream, from 2 recording studios. Says John, "I've never been treated better, and yet, at times, he tires of the spotlight. I just want to live my life," he says. For the 3rd time this morning, John is calling for his mother. In his bedroom, she dresses him. "I just don't think John realizes what he's facing," she says, after he has left for school. "He doesn't stop to think that he's totally dependent." As John is first to admit, he has yet to fully absorb the impact of his disability. "I kind of just ignore the psychological stuff," he says with a laugh. "I just keep busy, don't think about it." Instead, he concentrates on what is most important to him: friends, graduation, and his new car. Speeding down a gravel road, he changes the subject with a mischievous grin. "I had sort of a bad reputation before the accident," he says. "I wasn't that great a student, and people thought I drove too fast. The little old ladies in town would shake their fingers at me when I drove by. Now," he said, "they pat me on the head. It is a plan It is a plan his school pals are, for the most part, happy to aid and abet. He walks among his friends with an air of boyish bravado, laughing, talking, playing pranks, like pushing the girls into a cluster of shrubs, or nudging his new girlfriend, Shayla Cost, 17, to the edge of her chair. As best they can, his friends try to make him comfortable. Darnell Bushmiller, 18, a popular senior who became close to John after the accident, is careful not to push too hard. "I don't want to get in John's way, but I want to help if he needs it. A lot of guys would be embarrassed to be seen feeding another guy," he adds. "But it doesn't bother me, and it doesn't bother John. Not a word is spoken about the splints discreetly tucked beneath John's favorite sweatshirts. We figure John doesn't want to talk about his problems, says Kim Fike, 17, a junior. I'm sure it must be worrying him what his future holds, but he never lets on. Not in public, at least. There are moments, though, when all of this falls away. During rehearsal for the school talent show, 2 of John's friends were singing "Meet Me in Montana," a duet about failed dreams, when suddenly, he recalls, he was overcome by sadness. I don't even like the song, he says, but I almost started crying. I went down to the locker room at the gym and just sat there. I thought, what am I doing? What am I trying to prove? Okay, I'm going to stop there. Again, there's more, so we'll finish this up in the next class. I've got some closing statements. Okay. All right, you're going to hear premeditate, revenge, degree, arouse, quarrel, homicide, abettor, which just means to encourage, reflection, intentional, passion, manslaughter, disposition, felonious, provocation, rashly. Okay, and murder. You can write murder in one stroke, M-U-R-D. Let's see, quarrel. You can squeeze that, K-W-A-R-L, quarrel. I want to make sure I'm giving you all of the briefs that I see. Obviously, OFL, that's one of my favorite briefs. OFL. Deliberation, that can be written D-L-I-B-G-S. Deliberation, D-L-I-B-G-S. And again, you can write these down and, practice them at a later time. Offense, O-F-N-S. Manslaughter, you can write that as M-A-L-T. And then malt, if malt ever came up, I would flag that. It's not going to come up very often. All right. Ready? The court is going to instruct you that to reduce an intentional, felonious homicide from the offense of murder to manslaughter upon the ground of sudden quarrel or heat of passion, the provocation must be of such character and degree as would naturally excite and arouse passion. The term heat of passion is defined for you as follows. Such passion as naturally would be aroused in the mind of an ordinarily reasonable person of average disposition in the same or similar circumstances as those in question, and such as would cause him to act rashly, without reflection and deliberation, and from passion rather than judgment, with that instruction means is that the defendant cannot set up his own standard. If he is a quick-tempered person and there is some form of provocation that leads him to believe that self-defense is necessary, it is not his standard that we judge it by. We judge it by what an ordinarily reasonable person would do in the same situation. The court will tell you that if there was a provocation that was of a nature not calculated to naturally arouse such passion, if an unlawful killing of a human being follows such a provocation and has all the elements of murder, then the mere fact of slight or remote provocation will not reduce the offense to manslaughter. What was argued to you was that Oscar Mullen reached for the knife, and suddenly he felt threatened by it. This is provocation on the part of Bruce Nixon, and because of Oscar Mullen's reaction to this, there is a sudden quarrel. A heat of passion takes over. Mullen didn't premeditate and deliberate. He can't be guilty of murder. Therefore, Harley Bennett cannot be guilty of murder as an aider and abettor under these theories. It is our contention that obviously there was no heat of passion. There may have been a distinct element of fear in the mind of Oscar Mullen, but that is covered by the next instruction. Neither the emotion of fear of itself nor the emotion for revenge of itself toward others constitute the heat of passion referred to in the law. You can have a combination of all of them, and you can have that or any one of them. But the court tells you that any one or more of them, meaning fear or revenge, may exist in the mind of a person who acts deliberately. Okay, My last article here is going to be from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Do something nice for someone else and don't tell anyone about it. Okay, here we go. While many of us frequently do nice things for others, we are almost certain to mention our acts of kindness to someone else, secretly seeking their approval. When we share our own niceness or generosity with someone else, it makes us feel like we are thoughtful people. It reminds us of how nice we are and how deserving we are of kindness. While all acts of kindness are inherently wonderful, there is something even more magical about doing something thoughtful but mentioning it to no one ever. You always feel good when you give to others, rather than diluting the positive feelings by telling others about your own kindness. By keeping it to yourself, you get to retain all the positive feelings. It's really true that one should give for the sake of giving, not to receive something in return. This is precisely what you are doing when you don't mention your kindness to others. Your rewards are the warm feelings that come from the act of giving. The next time you do something really nice for someone else, keep it to yourself and revel in the abundant joy of giving. All right, and that concludes our literary and jury charge for the 80 class. Have a great day.